So if you have kids at home and or you work in any kind of office, you're probably faced with a giant bowl of chocolate today. And you probably will be faced with giant bowls of chocolate for the next several weeks and months. Are we freaking out? What's happening out there? Halloween really begins the season of like big time temptation and food challenges. And every year I get clients and friends and acquaintances asking me for strategies and ideas to help manage the reality. Let's start with this little guy. This little guy here, very small. And you might think, well, I can have one or two of those in moderation. But has that ever worked for you? Like, be honest with yourself. Yeah. This little guy and all of his friends are designed by food engineers to be hyper palatable. So they blend the sort of sweet, salty, and fat flavors and textures so as to light up the pleasure centers of your brain. Even if you think you have the willpower to stop at one or two little mini Snickers bars, just understand that this is designed to make it so you almost can't stop eating it. It targets your dopamine receptors. I've got 2 ideas to help you navigate this hyper-palatable, quasi-addictive reality that's in front of you right now. So let's dive right in. Strategy number 1 is a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but hear me out. The most effective strategy for handling food temptation is to physically remove it. Get the candy out of the house. You'd probably win the Bad Mommy and Daddy of the Year award if you took your kids' candy away. I totally get it. Some parents are doing it. They're donating their candy to various charitable organizations, or there's dentists offering like buyback programs, giving you cash for your candy. Truthfully though, this strategy is a little bit difficult at Halloween time, and I totally get it. But just keep it in your back pocket for those times when you're like having a hard time resisting the Oreos in the pantry and recognizing that you brought the Oreos home in the first place. We can always get rid of the temptation. Okay, so here's my other idea. It's kind of crazy, kind of harebrained, but I think it just might work. What if we found hyper-palatable foods that targeted our pleasure centers in our brain, but were healthy? I have some examples. Now, not all of these foods are going to be your favorites, and I get it, but I really just want to start the conversation around some options and alternatives you have to create that similar sort of snacking flavor experience that we're getting from the engineered snacks. I don't think there are too many foods in the world that have quite the same flavor experience as an olive. Not just flavor, but texture. It's this meaty texture. We've got salty, sort of fat, savory, this amazing mouthfeel, amazing flavor profile. I go for the big jumbo Spanish olives with the pimento in the middle. So when I eat this, I get that really savory, really salty, tangy, tart flavor, and I get that little hint of soft sweetness from the pimento. Salty, sweet, and fat are the 3 flavors that make these kinds of things addictive. And you can actually achieve that with an olive, but you get the healthy fat profile. And here's another thing. Try binging on olives. Let me know how that goes for you. A lot of people really don't like olives, but you could like other pickled things, like a spicy pickled bean. It's pickled, so you get that vinegary tart flavor. It's also spicy, so it's like pow in your mouth. I'm totally staining my sleeve, showing you this pickled beet that's dripping everywhere. Pickled beets now. A soft, smooth texture, velvety, and an earthy flavor profile with that tart pickled flavor too. What about this? What about a pickled pickle? Hey, you could just eat a pickle. Everybody likes pickles. If you're not into olives, like a lot of people aren't, you can just have other pickled things. And there's really no limit to the amount of things that are out there that are pickled. And pickled vegetables have amazing, pungent, strong flavor. Yeah, so pickles, right? Pickled vegetables just have really strong, pungent, aromatic flavor. They have amazing, soft yet crunchy texture. There's a lot of things going on in the experience of eating pickled veg. But you might not like pickles. Don't worry, I have some other ideas. Okay, but first we need to have some real talk about your sweet tooth. So check in with yourself and be honest. Do you have a sweet tooth? And if you do, to what degree? Are you mostly in control of it, or is it in control of you? If you have a sweet tooth, you can't really handle this in moderation. That's really why the whole everything in moderation phrase is super misguided. You probably go off the rails a little bit. You'll have one, and then you'll have another one, and then I'll just have one more, then I'll just have one more, and then before you know it, you're at that point in the day where you're like, well, now I've ruined everything, I'm just gonna eat the whole bag. I know that sounds familiar, and I don't mean to belittle it, but it is what it is, and that's because these foods are designed to addict you, to hook you in. What we have to do is kind of detox from them. We gotta leave it be. We can't feed that sweet demon. So far in this video, and when I consult with my clients who are struggling to withstand their urges toward candy, I don't immediately leap to healthy sweet alternatives. I actually go more to the savory side. You had a sweet craving and you answered it with an olive. That would completely sort of unwire that whole circuit, that loop that you're kind of hooked into now. So you can kind of trick it, short circuit it, right? Eventually, when you've kind of come down from that infinite loop of sugar cravings and sugar feedings, your palate changes. Your desire for sweetness actually diminishes. It's actually really, really incredible to experience it. I used to love milk chocolate. I'd have a little bit of milk chocolate every day, and then that little bit got to be a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and I realized that I needed to nip it in the bud. So I started replacing my chocolate cravings with these savory treats, and it changed my palate. True, like you can actually change your palate and change what sort of how sweet resonates on your tongue. So now my chocolate indulgence is 85% dark chocolate. That's about as high as I'm willing to go. It's so yummy to me. It's really interesting when your palate changes like that. So things that you once found, you know, sweet and enjoyable, they kind of shift into this more like unbearably saccharine sort of category. And then other things, other amazing whole foods that have a sweeter flavor profile, they suddenly feel like even more of a treat, like a delicious berry. To me, this is perfectly sweet. I don't want to blow your mind, but this little snack right here, like 4 strawberries and a couple squares of extra dark chocolate, that seems like almost the perfect snack. Almost. The one flavor / texture that snack is missing to make it hyper palatable is something salty, savory. That's where this comes in. Guys, like an extra old aged hard cheddar that crumbles in your mouth and has that strong, sharp flavor. Just another flavor that you really would have a hard time binging on. But like the mouthfeel, the experience of eating an amazing strong cheese, it's very indulgent. Oh buddy, now we're talking, right? This little guy is hyper palatable because it combines fat plus salt plus sweet. This combines fat plus salt plus sweet. We can create the Snickers experience with whole, healthy foods that are not addictive. Guys, get this stuff up in your pantry and avoid the temptation of this by preoccupying your brain and your taste buds and your flavor centers with the pleasure of all of this. I literally bought this bowl of candy to make this video, and now I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I guess I'll put it in the fireplace. See? Physically removing the temptation. Step 1.